Hell Gang is a kind of fraternity of young, thrill-seeking men, no girls allowed, known for their wild parties and even wilder initiations. To be accepted into their ranks, you must film your journey of going down the path to Old Brant House to stand on their porch. However, nothing is as easy as it seems. We meet Billy, an enthusiastic inductee of Hell Gang, hoping to become a part of their brotherhood. He is exploring the grounds of Brant Mansion looking for this mysterious door, running into spiderwebs and past creepy fountains. Suddenly, he comes across a swimming pool. A red ball bounces past him, and we see Billy enter a type of trance. He seems to mindlessly descend into the swimming pool, pick up the ball, and then hastily drop it. He looks around, confused. He hears the faint laughter of a little girl, and runs after her, only to be thrown back into the pool by a mysterious force. Frantically, he runs out of the pool and towards the way he came. However, he faints after hitting his head on a branch, and wakes up back inside the swimming pool. He spots a little girl dressed in white, crouched in the corner of the pool. He approaches her with an outstretched hand, but upon turning around, we see that her eyes are black. Billy jumps back in horror, and sees a black figure looming over him, standing outside the pool. He runs away, and finds himself on the porch of the Brant house. Suddenly, he enters a trance again, his eyes transfixed on the door that has just swung open in front of him, as if someone is controlling him. Billy enters the house, and his eyes become engulfed in black, just like the little girl's. Soon after, we come across Austin, editing footage of a group of friends on the grounds of the Brant Mansion, wondering whether this place is scary enough for their Hell Gang initiations. The footage reveals that no one has passed the challenge yet, and the only person brave enough to do so miserably failed. We also learn the story behind the Brants. They tell us of a father, Mr. Brant, who would do anything to make his wife, Lady Brant, happy, and of their many children. Mrs. Brant had been pregnant with their 13th child, and the baby had with its own umbilical cord and ripped her insides out. Mr. Brant never saw his children the same way again, and he called them down to the root cellar one by one. The house is thus forever haunted by the spirits of this family, waiting for their next victim. This same night, another initiation for the Hell Gang is about to take place. Eddie is the one to enter the treacherous grounds of Brant Mansion, and film himself doing so. In the car on their way to Brant Mansion, the boys begin to talk about Billy, and they assume that he must have moved out of town owing to his father's job in the military. Eddie is apprehensive about the journey he is about to make, but the others manage to convince him that nothing will go wrong and that it will be worth it to be a part of Hell Gang. Upon reaching the house, Eddie straps on a GoPro camera rig and hops the fence to the estate. Soon after, 2 police cars pull up to the house. They warn the boys to leave, threatening to take them down to the station. Half the boys leave, while the others trudge towards the mansion to look for Eddie. A car of the boys' girlfriends pulls up, and they try to sway the boys to not go inside the house, but they hop the fence anyway on their way to find Eddie. On their walk inside the grounds, Keith begins to tell the others about the real story behind the Brant house. According to police reports and pictures, Lady Brant and her children went to church every Sunday. When she was almost due for her 13th child, they missed a day of church, and a neighbor began to worry about them. Lady Brant and her children were found slain in the nursery, and Mr. Brant was missing. The pictures showed that there was no blood, almost as if the bodies had been cleaned up by Mr. Brant. Lady Brant was made to sit in her rocking chair, and her 13th child was in her lap, with the umbilical cord still attached to the baby. The rest of her children had been made to sit in front of her on the floor. Thus, Keith makes them promise to not go inside the nursery when they are inside the house. Suddenly, they hear the sounds of leaves crunching around them. They all stand up, and someone begins to charge at them from behind a tree, while growling. However, it turns out to be Muzo just trying to mess with them. They start their journey towards the house again, and while they are walking, a person dressed in white races past them, causing an old swing on a tree to fall behind them. None of them notice the figure, but they all turn around to inspect the swing. Seconds later, Muzo is dragged to the floor and the rest panic. However, it turns out to be Lucas, fighting Muzo for messing with everyone, specifically citing Keith, as he is the most afraid. After breaking up this short-lived fight, they begin to walk again. Keith trips on something on the ground, and he thinks it is Eddie, but it turns out to be a deer that seems like it has been deceased for weeks. The boys' macho facade falls away, as they slowly start to admit how terrified they are of the house and of being inside the grounds of Brant Mansion. They reach the fountain and the pool of the estate. They go down to the swimming pool and find fresh blood on the floor of the pool. As they are leaving, Austin stops, and the same red ball that haunted Billy in the opening scenes bounces past him. He turns around and sees Billy in a white shirt, saying that there is no way out. Before Austin can react, the others call for him, and the vision of Billy disappears. Soon, they reach the house. The body camera rig that Eddie had been wearing is on the floor of the porch, and they begin to watch the footage on it. Eddie looks terrified, as though he is being chased. However, he makes it to the house's porch, and holds up the camera to show them the door. The front door opens behind Eddie, and his eyes go black, as if he has also entered a trance. However, the boys think that Eddie must have staged the door opening in an effort to scare them and decide to explore the house further. They walk around and find what they think is the root cellar, near which is a back door. Chase opens the door and walks inside. It opens into the kitchen, leading into a dining room with 4 places set, ready for dinner. The room to the root cellar is ajar, and a rotten smell wafts up to them. They enter another dining room, where Muzo attempts to mess with them again. He says he was just trying to lighten the mood, and promises not to scare them anymore. Near the front door, Keith finds a family picture framed on the wall. He points to the Brants and their children, remembering their faces from the police report. However, there are other people in the picture whom he does not recognize, and they assume that it must be a picture of a larger family reunion. They continue to look for Eddie, exploring the rooms and finding all sorts of clues into the Brants' lives, such as portraits of Mrs. Brant, jackets in closets, and more. Austin looks out of a window and sees the same man dressed in white, assumed to be Billy. A whisper echoes, "We're home," and Austin says that he feels sick. He goes into the nearest bathroom to throw up, but is met instead with a strange sight. He hears splashing from the tub behind him, and spots a woman's reflection in the mirror. She gets out of the tub, walks towards Austin, and kisses him. As they are kissing, the door to the bathroom opens, and an old man with a sinister look on his face enters. He circles the two, menacingly, and the woman and the old man make eye contact while she is kissing Austin. Suddenly, they both disappear, and Austin is alone in the bathroom. Perplexed and frightened, he leaves the bathroom. He walks into the hallway and opens a door, where he sees a woman with disheveled hair dressed in black. Austin runs away, and finds his friend standing at the foot of the stairs, staring up at an illuminated room. Keith begins to act strange, refusing to answer the others when they speak to him. They walk towards the room, and Chase finds a picture of Mr. Brant, and says that he resembles Austin. The lights of the room have been switched off now, but Keith walks into the room with no hesitation. The walls of the room are decorated with children's drawings, one of which is a bloody scene of violence in the pool. Keith is standing in the center of the room, right in front of the rocking chair. His friends try to grab his attention, but he ignores them, continuously whispering, "I want to play," to himself over and over again. Suddenly, Keith begins to float above the ground with his mouth agape. They all assume that the ghost of Lady Brant has entered his body, and hurriedly rush out of the room. They reach downstairs, and a person is trying to come out of the wall behind them. Panicked and afraid, the boys start yelling at each other. Lucas calls their attention to the family picture near the front door again, saying that one of the people in the picture is Eddie. They try to leave the house, but Austin suddenly charges at them, yelling at them to stay. He is in a trance again, and his voice is distorted as he screams at them to not leave the house. All of them start to panic, trying to forcefully open the doors and break the windows. Muzo starts to hyperventilate, saying that people are screaming inside his head, and the others tell Austin to stay with him. However, Austin sees something at the top of the stairs, and leaves Muzo behind to investigate. He walks into a room, and the camera flies out of his hand. As he is about to leave, he turns around and sees the rocking chair in motion, with the ghosts of the Brant children sitting around it. They are all dressed in white, and their black eyes stare blankly at him. Austin returns to where he left Muzo, but he is no longer there. Chase, Lucas, and Austin go to look for Muzo, but Austin gets distracted and opens the door to the root cellar. Through the camera lens, he can see Lady Brant and Mr. Brant. They are all dressed in white, but when Austin calls the others over to see what is happening, they cannot see anything. Lady Brant screams to Austin that no one can take her family away from her, and Austin runs away. Lucas is being haunted as well, as his mouth is suddenly sewn shut, just like those of the children. In another room, they find Muzo with a knife. He stabs Lucas. Muzo wakes up, faces Austin, and in the voice of Lady Brant, he says that it is done. He refers to Austin as father, and calls them all a family, begging Austin to stay with them. Suddenly, Austin falls to the floor, and it seems like he has been possessed by the spirit of Mr. Brant. He finds Lucas and Chase trying to escape, but the other ghosts begin to corner them. They smash a window, and even though Chase makes it out, Lucas is sucked in by the house. Chase is pulling Austin with him, but he is still in a trance, and walks back towards the house. Chase begins to run mindlessly, but the other spirits of the Brant mansion catch up to him, and he finds himself in the pool. All of his friends are dressed in white as they descend the steps of the pool. Austin takes Chase by the throat, and the film cuts back to the family picture. They are all in it, standing behind the Brant children. The house has taken them in, and they have become a part of the Brant family.